We've made countless mistakes throughout our careers, but this one sticks out as the worst to me, and it almost even led us up to ending our careers. If you're not fully aware on the backgrounds of mine and Josh's footballing careers, then to make a long story short, we've struggled with countless injuries throughout our careers until this point. Josh had a potential career-ending ACL injury a couple seasons ago, which led him to having to sit out for about 15 months. And my own injuries had me in a constant loop of simply trying to recover and trying to be healthy enough to simply try and train. Of course, we can't always control injuries. Josh's ACL injury, for example, was simply a pretty freak accident which involved his foot getting caught in the ground whilst he was trying to turn, basically. Saying this, were there things he could have or could have not done in his day-to-day life leading up to that match which would have helped prevent the chance of this injury happening? Obviously. And that goes for myself as well. Now, this story goes back around 2 to 3 years ago, so it wasn't actually that long ago at all. During this period, it actually felt like we were at our most productive and most successful levels. We've never felt that disciplined in our life, and we've never felt like we've been in a better state of flow than that time period. Every single thing in our lives was down to the specific details, and we never skipped anything at all. We literally did everything in our power and literally everything possible we could do to make sure that we were improving as a footballer. We trained about 7 to 9 times a week. That includes, team and individual training sessions, as well as probably the same amount of workouts in the gym as well. On top of this, we were constantly working on, our mental health as well, our mentality in general. So for that, we, meditated daily, we journaled daily, we read and whatnot. We did all of this every single day without failure. And then over time, our healthy habits sort of turned into somewhat of an unhealthy obsession. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning for quite a long period of time just so I could, get up early, get up on time, get in a gym session, do my morning meditation, reading, journaling and all of that before I actually had to head off to classes and whatnot. And by the time the end of the day came about, I was absolutely knackered. It was a pretty rare occurrence when I stayed up after 9 o'clock because I literally just passed out as soon as I lay down. But sometimes I forced myself to stay up after that 9 o'clock period because I was also, on top of everything that I've mentioned so far, I was actually working on trying to build JNM football. After, too long of this schedule, the inevitable happened and I did actually end up getting injured. I cannot tell you how much crap actually came with this small injury. The actual injury itself was just the tip of the very long and dark iceberg. Despite this, throughout the majority of my injury, I maintained a positive mindset and stuck with my daily habits. Well, that's for the first 6 months at least anyway. But after spending hundreds on physiotherapy sessions, seeing, more doctors than I can count on my both hands, it obviously affected me and got to me mentally. I've spoken about the details of my injury in another video actually, so I'm not going to go into too much details of it now. But throughout the uncertainty of me actually ever being able to return to football as I'd expect, I somewhat lost sight of what I was working towards. I didn't know why I was working like that every day anymore. And to some extent, it didn't even seem worth it at some points. Despite knowing I was on a good path, my why seemed to fade. I finally got out of this rut and somehow I actually recovered from this never-ending injury. Well, what seemed at a lot of times that it was never-ending. And most importantly, I learned from my mistakes. As did Josh. Yes, we all have to play with some pain from time to time. That's just an aspect of football. I think every player has to go through this, and that's just football really. But if your body is ever sending you a signal, listen to it, because it is sending you that signal for a reason. Obviously, if your brain is simply signaling to you that you cannot be asked to train today, well, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. We got all of these issues with injury from overtraining. Pushing our bodies to boundaries they simply were not capable of handling. As athletes, our body is our main asset, which is why we really do need to look after it and take good care of it. So do the work, hold yourself accountable, but listen to your body.